So today we're doing what's called a demo meeting. In Toastmasters, everyone is involved with the meetings. Okay.
Sorry, I'm just going to interrupt real quick.
And this is a normal Toastmasters thing. You go with the flow. One thing about Toastmasters is it's a very supportive organization. So if you get up here and make the worst speech ever, you're still going to learn something because you're, one, going to get the experience of doing it, and two, there's going to be an evaluator who's going to say, hey, you did this good. And they're going to give you one or two suggestions on how to improve for the next time or things to work on. They're not going to tell you you've really, really bombed because it's a supportive environment. Not only do you learn public speaking skills, you also learn leadership skills. It's amazing what you can learn just by doing. And it's a safe place to fail. But it's a great place to succeed as well. With that, I'm going to introduce Ryan, and he's going to do the humor for today, I believe. Where is Ryan? Right there. He disappeared.
He's gone. He's a magician.
Is that Ryan who just walked in the door? Yes. Okay, you're up. So please help me welcome Ryan. Yes. Make sure to do it loudly. Okay, that would be great.
Nice to meet you. All right. Thank you, Toastmaster. A new business was opening, and one of the owner's friends wanted to send flowers for the occasion. They arrived at the new business site, and the owner read the card. It said, "Rest in peace." The owner was angry and called the florist to complain. After he had told the florist of the obvious mistake and how angry he was, the florist said, "Sir, I'm really sorry for the mistake, but rather than getting angry at you, you should imagine this. Somewhere there is a funeral taking place today, and they have flowers with a note saying, 'Congratulations on your new location.'"
Great thing about Toastmasters is you always get an applause. We always clap when people come up and make them feel good. All right. We have some roles throughout the meeting to help keep us on track, and so I'm going to introduce some people, and they're going to read what their role is about. Could Jeff, he is our all-counter grammarian today, could he come up and tell us what he's doing? I'm assuming that's Jeff over there.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. As grammarian and counter, I will be listening for connecting words such as so, you know. I will also be listening for grammatical errors such as double negatives, tense, run-on sentences, and wrong usages of the English language. As grammarian, I will be counting the number of times ahs and ums are used and give a report near the ending of the meeting. Thank you.
If you do attend Toastmasters meetings, one thing you will do is have a hard time watching someone speak because you count the ahs and ums automatically without even thinking about it. So up next is our timer. Is it Iwa? Please help me welcome Iwa.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to be the timer for today. I'm going to be timing the speeches, the table topics, as well as the evaluations. For speeches, I'm going to be timing. The duration will be in between 5 and 7 minutes. For table topics and evaluations, the duration will be in between 1 and 2 minutes. I'm going to be using green, amber, and red light cards. And for the speeches, I'm going to be raising them up. I'm going to raise the green card up on the 5th minute, the amber light card on the 6th minute, and on the 7th minute, the red light. For the table topics and evaluations, the green card comes up after the first minute, and 30 seconds after that, we have the amber card, and 2 minutes to the end, we have the red card. That's all for today.
Thank you. Have you ever been to a meeting that just drones on and on and on and on? That's why we have a timer, so that our meetings start on time and they end on time. So a timer is very important. Next up is our general evaluator. He's going to tell us what his role is.
I'm Ben Garbato, and I'm honored to be the general evaluator tonight. Later on, after we've heard some speeches, I'll get to call on a few reports from Timer and Grammarian and give a little evaluation of the meeting. But right now, I get to introduce our evaluators. And since I have no idea who they are, who is evaluator number one? All right, and what, your name? Tara, number one? Number two? Alex, and number three? Haniel. All right, thank you.
Okay. Now we've got our first speaker. He is giving the he's giving a speech from the Educational Better Speaker Series, number 5, Selecting Your Topic. He's asking for 10 to 15 minutes, so I'll get you the time. Just give me a minute. Selecting your speech, or there's a speech in there somewhere, is the name of the speech. When Paul Davis joined his first Toastmasters Club in 2004, he didn't need, but his audience often didn't pay attention. He didn't need to, but his audience often didn't pay attention. He used the opportunity to study audiences and ways to engage them. They do better now. Paul is here today to share ways to get your message across. He's presenting a project from the Better Speaker Series. Please help me welcome Paul Davis with Selecting Your Topic, or there's a speech in there somewhere.
Thank you, Julie. For those who are watching online, I'm afraid you don't get any of these. Just a few, if anybody like that. Wasn't sure if you. That's a bit for you. Thanks. Julie, come get your cell phone. Sorry. That's the other reason sometimes we need an extra moment or two.
Yeah, sometimes tech people forget tech.
Oh, yeah, that happens. When all else fails.
Okay.
Okay. That's fine. Okay, sure.
Are we up on screen?
Yep. Fortunately, your password is a series of dots.
Yes, and it's very long. Come on.
If you get the wrong number of dots, you're not allowed.
Okay. 5. Is that it?
There we go.
Come on. Is that good?
Yep, that's it. How many people here have actually made a presentation of something they've been working on, or something that's important to them? How many people have had an audience that didn't seem to get it? There is a fellow named Charles Tremendous Jones. His claim to fame, I think, is when you ask him how he's doing, he says, I'm doing tremendous. One of the things he said was never try to make a point without illustrating it with a story. And if you have a story, make sure it supports a point. Otherwise, you may be wasting somebody's time, or they may be wasting yours. If you have a point, you may have some stories already in mind. You may have had a personal experience. you guys are tech developers. I was sort of almost in the tech developer thing, except for the fact that when I was doing it, DOS was up. Actually, I was there before DOS was. I think I've just dated myself. And I took a job where they said, well, tell you what, we'll do the tech. You tell us what you need, and we'll make it happen for you. So that was my talent, talking to the tech guys and actually making them understand that. But now you get to talk to the folks kind of like me, only that may not get it. So here's some pointers you have to make sure that they do get it. If you have a story, you can either do it from personal experience, like I just did, or what interests do you have? Maybe you have a hobby. Maybe you can do it based on a situation that happened at work not long ago, or maybe that happened to somebody you work with, whatever it takes. Or family. Who here has kids? Who here has grandkids? Yeah, okay. Kids are great sources of stories. You know that. They're entirely unpredictable. Sometimes they teach us a bunch of stuff. And they have fun, and you have fun with them. Oh, that's one other thing. If you're trying to tell a story, if you make it fun rather than dismal and grim, you'll probably have a better chance of keeping your audience with you. And of course, education. With education, you've had people that spent all kinds of hours preparing material just for you. Aren't you special? Well, now you can share it. I had a professor who told me that he didn't really like being called an expert. He explained why. He said, expert, well, X is like a former or has been, and a spurt's a grip under pressure. So there's my education. Now, of course, there's other things you can do. Reference material. Hey, when all else fails, read the instructions, right? Well, I'm guessing you guys have all read the reference material, read the instructions. You know how all this stuff works. Now you're trying to explain it to people that don't have the time. But your reference material may be at a website, maybe out of a book, maybe out of a magazine. You guys have instructions on stuff out of magazines? Maybe not. Okay. And newspapers? Well, all right, you're making me feel old. Here is the trick. If you wind up with a story or something that says, you know what, that's going to help me make that point, or if I ever have to explain it, I want to use that, write it down. Or, I don't know, whatever it is you do on send yourself a textbook, post it on, is Facebook still current? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I can never tell with some of these groups. But write it down, have it recorded someplace that you can look it up later on. It may be years before you need it. You know, maybe it's take a picture of it. You know, maybe you found something really odd. You had a store with some sort of a big caption on it that says, huh? When you look at what's in the window and say, well, really? But take a picture if it's something really strange. And you may be able to use that photo as part of as one of your technical presentations, and you may, as a result of that photo, help somebody get it. Now, you're going to wind up with all kinds of ideas of things you want to talk about to support your various points. And in all likelihood, you're not going to have a whole lot of time. In a Toastmaster meeting, we typically have 5 to 7 minutes. In a work situation, you tell me, whatever it is, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours? No? 10 minutes? Okay. But to narrow your selection, a couple things. What is your audience? Is your audience tech people? Is your audience folks that, is it management? Is it customers? Whoever it is. Is it a large audience? Small audience? Are they old folks? Are they not so old folks? Do they have a clue about your subject? If not, you're going to have to go from the very basics. And you know that. Maybe they have the same education, same interests, so that you could tell a story that's sort of, okay, if you're in the tech thing, you'll understand this, and you can tell all about, oh, I don't know, being in a computer, serving on a computer help desk or something like that, and customers that call in and say, well, my computer's not working. I say, well, have you turned it on? You never know. But again, you narrow your selection down. You come up with a story that sort of might resonate with your audience. If you can kind of catch their attention and get them to pay attention and say, hey, I've done something like what he's done. Maybe what he has to say means something to me, and I'll actually listen. What's the occasion? Is it an after-dinner presentation, after-lunch presentation? Oh, those are fun. You know, when people have just had lunch, and all of a sudden they're getting talked to on there's a monotone voice, and no gestures, and no stories, and pretty soon you can wake them up, maybe. Or is it a group like this, where you guys looks like you're here to have some fun, and also maybe to learn a few things. Hey, that's my kind of audience. Does the event have a theme? SQL. I used to try SQL, and then they told me, don't do that anymore, we'll do it. Right, Julie? She and I used to work at the same place. Well, I still do. She got ambitious and went on. Or are you scheduled to to speak right after a meal? That's always a dicey one. Or speak during lunch. Well, that's fun. That's one of the things we do in a lot of Toastmaster clubs. We'll meet at lunchtime. So you have people chowing down, you have other people saying, you know what, I'm going to have lunch afterwards, and they're sitting there and their tummy's growling. Whatever it is. So when are you scheduled? Is it an evening one? Okay, well, how long a day have they had? There's a club that meets at 6:30 in the morning on a Thursday. Now, those people are determined. What's going to happen after your speech? Do they all have to go and leave for work? They have to leave like right after the meeting and have a chance to chat with them afterwards? Doesn't matter. But it may affect how you select your topic. And then a couple of things. What are your abilities? Can you tell a joke decently? Maybe you want to not tell it as a joke. Maybe you want to do it as just a story that's maybe a little bit ironic. But if you can, add some enthusiasm. Add some interest. Show that it's important to you. Show that you're having fun. Ideally, show that you have a clue what you're talking about, or are you going to lose them anyhow? Are you an authority? Maybe not. Well, if not, well, then you cite the authorities that are there. And in fact, one thing you can do sometimes is solicit some pointers, some ideas from your audience. Got to be careful, though, because if you do that, you may lose control of your presentation. Since I am not an expert in SQL, I'm not going to be that specific about SQL presentations. I'll let Julie do that, or one of you guys, because you guys presumably know what you're doing, right?
Presumably.
All right. If it works, don't fix it, right? Okay. Is the topic specific enough? Hey, if I was trying to do something on coming up with making a great speech, no, I wouldn't try to do that. You can't do that in 5 to 7 minutes. But when it comes to selecting a topic, hey, I can do that. One of the things, anytime you're doing a speech, make sure that you do it in some sort of a logical order. You know, to the points that you're making, do they add to what you're presenting? Yes, no, maybe, so? If they don't, could you drop it? And just present the things that really do support your speech. Sometimes, if you have limited time, you really want to cut down just get it to the basics, the thing you want to do. It may be that all you want to do with your speech is get it so that people will say, all right, this is generally how it works, and I'm going to have to go and read the instructions. If you only have 7 minutes to make something happen, that's probably all you can go for. So what you can do is cut out everything that isn't going to establish some interest. Just make a few points so that people can remember them, and then move on and let somebody else speak. So, if you have personal experience, you have the resources, you have all the manuals, you may have developed an application, I don't know, whatever it is. Consider your audience, consider when it is, who you're talking to, what their background is. You do all that, and look around, have a look in their faces, see if it looks like they're getting it. If not, you may have to explain something a little more. But if you can do all that, you've got yourself a great speech topic. You got yourself a great speech. And you may not do it perfectly, but if people get it, it doesn't matter if it's perfect, right? Madam Toastmaster.
All right, our next speaker, which he didn't put this in his intro, so I'm going to say it anyway, is the 1991 International Speech Contest winner for Toastmasters. That means he competed against people all over the world. He is fantastic. Our next speaker invited himself to speak at our club. This is not because he wants to seek every opportunity to speak, but because he is looking for free food. Please welcome Dave Ross with his speech, Buddy, Can You Spare a Slice?
Thank you. Buddy, can you spare a slice of pizza, please? I love pizza. Always have. And I have been known by members of my family to be something of a pizza monster. I devour the slices. I've swallowed about half a pizza before they've even finished one. This is not an exaggeration, but a fact. My brother insisted that he get at least a 15-minute head start when we have pizza, because I love pizza. And what I want to share with you today is a relationship with food, with pizza, because it's a very special thing. Yes, it was my youth when I would I could literally eat a large family-style pizza by myself and then look for more. Now, as I got older, it started to show a little bit more, so I've cut back just a little bit. But still, I love pizza. Now, here's the thing that a lot of people don't know. Does anybody here ever hear of a pizza parlor called Shakey's Pizza? A couple people have. This is, again, fact. My uncle had a friend, and after World War II, my uncle got out of the Navy, and his friend got out of the Navy. And my friend goes up to my uncle and says, I've got a great idea for a restaurant. We'll have Italian pizza, German beer, and honky-tonk music, and for only $300, you can be a partner. My uncle turned to him and said, Shaky, get out of here. You're always coming up with these business deals. I don't want to hear it. That was the beginning of Shakey's Pizza in Sacramento, California. And I could have been a pizza heir. But as it turned out, I'm just a pizza monster. This relationship with pizza has haunted me my entire life. I had a roommate who would get really unusual types of pizza. He would get tuna and grape. He would get something like anchovies, green olives, and sesame seeds. And he did this because where we went to school, we always shared our pizza. And he had something totally disgusting and obnoxious on his pizza. Nobody else would want any. Of course, he forgot he was rooming with the pizza monster here. Honest, Tuna and grape is really a great combination. You should try it sometime. And just yesterday, Sunday afternoon, it was quiet. I'd settled down for a lovely little nap. The phone rings. I see by the caller ID, it's my daughter-in-law. So I said, "Hi, sweetheart, what's up?" I hear a little 5-year-old voice. "Hi, Gramp. How are you?" "Oh, hi, how are you, Pumpkin? What's up?" "Hey, Gramp, did you know that you could take me to Chuck E. Cheese right now?" "I could? Yes, you could. You could come over and get me. It would be okay." Because my grandson thinks that Chuck E. Cheese is my favorite restaurant. And so to Chuck E. Cheese we went. Now, I talked about these different stories of pizza because pizza is something very important to me. For whatever reason, it tastes good. It's easy to eat. You don't even need utensils to eat pizza. Think about that. Many reasons to love pizza. But all of that changed one day when I was sitting in a pizza parlor doing my normal thing, devouring slice after slice, and I looked outside at the dumpster. Somebody was just coming out of the dumpster and had a slice of discarded pizza in his hand. It was then that I realized a difference in life. I was blessed. I was pizza blessed. And this man found substance in what somebody else discarded. We all have an opportunity to look at life one way or another. Look at just your world around you, or look at just the world. I love pizza. And granted, if I were president of the United States, there'd be a pizza on every pot. But more than that, there would be an opportunity for everyone to eat. In this land of abundance and great resources, why is it that this man found the dumpster as the source of his pizza? Now, I'm sure there are all kinds of reasons. Maybe he was lazy, maybe he was crazy, maybe he was fired, maybe he was inspired to eat food out of a trash can. I don't know. All I know is that that day, pizza didn't taste so good to me. And if I can share just one thought with everyone, every one of us is somehow involved in that story at that pizza parlor on that one day. We're either serving people, we're either being served, or we're either finding a way to survive. And how we look at our roles and what we can do for it is how we look at our world. So, buddy, can you spare a slice? Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Dave. Our third speaker is Matt Brandstetter. He joined Toastmasters in 1999. He had no idea how this journey would take him, how far this journey would take him. Over the last few years, he rose to the highest educational level, which is Distinguished Toastmaster. He has also served in the highest office in Toastmasters in Oklahoma as their district governor in 2011 and 2012. Currently, he is serving Oklahoma Toastmasters as the chief ambassador in introducing the brand new educational program called Pathways, which was released February 13th. Please help me welcome Matt Brandstetter.
There is absolutely nothing more exciting than following the former world champion of public speaking. There is no way that I can reach that bar especially when my subject tonight will be a little more technical. But who knows, perhaps in this crowd, technical might just be the right speech to give. As Julie mentioned, we have rolled out a new educational program. Let me give you just a little bit of background on Toastmasters. Toastmasters is currently in 144 different nations. So we truly are Toastmasters International. It was created in 1924, and so it is coming up on 100 years old. Started in the basement of a YMC, so maybe a little bit like where we're meeting tonight. And the founder, Ralph Smedley, was working with young men at the YMCA to help them become better speakers so that whether they were going out to look for a job or whether they were going out to sell something or whatever it is that they were working on, they could communicate that better. The tagline for Toastmasters today, almost 100 years later, is where leaders are made. So we want to identify to you a little bit of why Toastmasters might be a valuable resource so that when you are talking to a client, you're talking to a supervisor, you're talking to people you supervise, any of those areas that you might be in, you can communicate better. As she mentioned, we have a new resource called Pathways that started on February the 13th. Had you joined 1 week ago tonight, you would have been given manuals, paper manuals. Those are manuals that were created, started being evolved 100 years ago, but really was evolved about 46 years ago, was the last time we saw a major change in the educational program. So let me talk about what Pathways is. First of all, I'm guessing that everybody in this room has something similar to this, probably not as poorly as mine is. We now communicate and we have these at our hands where we use technology. As I mentioned, you joined a week ago, you would have got a couple manuals, which was a curriculum, easy for me to say. That's why I'm in Toastmasters, to learn how to say tough words like curriculum. But they realized a few years ago that we needed to bring Toastmasters into the 21st century. That manuals like that didn't always fit what you need compared to what she might need. So they created a much more dynamic educational program. So the first part of Pathways is you go online. Everything is virtual now. And every question that you might have about Toastmasters, you can do drop downs, you can find tutorials, you can do a lot of self-help, but still we involve you in clubs like this so that we can be mentors for each other. You're going to see evaluations in a few minutes where we evaluate the speakers and give immediate feedback, both verbally and written. These are the things that Toastmasters help you with. And each skill, no one is expected to be a Dave Ross speaker the first time they get up and give a speech. In fact, some people in Toastmasters, it's all they can do to walk through that door. Others can come in that have certain skills and they want to take those to the higher level. So that's what we're about in Toastmasters, is helping you develop the skills that you can then use in your life to make your ability to communicate to others better. So the very first thing we do in Pathways is take an assessment. Now, how many of you probably in junior high or somewhere along the line took an assessment, and after you got the assessment back, it says, I'm good in math, I'm good in science, I'm good with my hands. In fact, in one of my clubs, we have a retired doctor, and he took an assessment in junior high that said he was very good in science and math. He was very good with his hands. He should be a doctor. Guess what? He became a doctor. So all of us have probably taken some sort of an assessment like that. Well, in Toastmasters, it will take an assessment, but it also, where do you want to go? Do you want to be a professional speaker? Or do you want to be more like or someone who the only reason you are going to speak is hopefully to communicate what it is that you do. One of our past district governors used to say, it doesn't matter how much you know if you can't tell other people how much you know. If you can't explain it to them, it's not going to get there. You take an assessment. Now the path is pathways for a reason, because you now follow a path, and it is curriculum. And your curriculum may be more in the public speaking, it may be in leadership, it may be more technical, and you choose that path that you want to go down. And then it creates a curriculum that you go through. So just like when you went to, whether it was at high school or technical school or college, you chose your subject material that you wanted to follow, your major. That's what a pathway is. We currently have 10 paths that are available, and there will be more coming out later. Second, each level you go through, so just again, using the college analogy, the first few speeches you give, first few exercises, I would call that freshman. And then we'll do sophomore, junior, senior, but then at the end, level 5, so we don't call them by those names. It's level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level, now I'm starting to sound like that old song, right? Level 1, level 2, okay. You get to level 5, that's almost like getting your master's in that pathway. The creative thing about pathways is that many of those projects will be something that you may be already doing at your job. You're not going to be stuck in a paper manual that was written 30, 40 years ago. You will be able to use what you are doing in your career or in your job or in whatever it is in life that you're excited about, and you can make that your pathway. So now more than ever, we are excited about pathways, especially for a group like you who are already tech savvy, trying to become more tech savvy, but use that in your career to make you better at what you do. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Matt. Up next is the fun part of the meeting, or what we call the fun part. It's table topics. And if you don't see a reason to do this, think of doing interview questions, where somebody asks you a question and you have 1 to 2 minutes to answer. Or you run into your boss in the hallway and he says, "How's that project going?" This is an opportunity to practice thinking on your feet. So please help me welcome our table topics master. Is it? Okay, this one isn't filled out all the way. Who's our table topics master? Yay, John! Oh, we're supposed to clap.
Thank you. Yes, bonus. All right, as table topic leader, I ask prepared questions and then call on random participants. So the prepared questions are, number 1. Abe Lincoln once said, "Most people are about as happy as they make up their minds to be." Do you agree or disagree with this statement, and why? Tara, do you agree with or disagree with that statement, and why? That's all right. As your table topic master, I will reread the question. Abe Lincoln once said, "Most people are about as happy as they make up their minds to be." Do you agree or disagree, and why? Thank you very much. I agree as well. Number 2, after you have passed on to the great beyond and had the chance to come back to Earth, which would you rather be, a lion, a shark, or an eagle, and why? You, sir, second from the end there, next to the World Master Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Tabletop Master. Just for sheer comfort, I would like to come back as a shark. I say that I already spend a lot of my life as a shark. As we know, sharks have no flotation bladder, so if they ever stop moving, they will sink to the bottom and die. If I stop moving, I will fall asleep. So I have already my entire adult life experience in acting like a shark. So I would like to come back as a shark.
Outstanding, thank you. Some people are already optimizing their first existence for their next one. Third and final question. What would be your ideal place to live and why? You, sir.
My ideal place to live would be back home in California, where my family resides, and where I grew up.
Fair enough. Thank you very much. Now, wasn't that fun? That concludes my table topics, and I return control to the Toastmaster.
Thank you, John. I have the completed sheet, so I know your name. We're doing good here. Next up is the section where we have evaluations, and that's where we find out what the speakers did well and what they can improve on, as well as what we did as a whole in the meeting. So please help me welcome Ben, who is our general evaluator.
I think we had Tara. Oh, perfect. Tara, Alex, and Hanuel. So let's start with number 1, Tara.
So as I understood it, I was evaluating Paul's presentation. Is that correct? Okay, so I'm on the right. I really liked how you started off and related to all of us at the very beginning, especially because we're tech related, and you told a story about storytelling that involved tech folk, if you will, and so I really enjoyed that. Toward the middle, it got a little stagnant. You lingered on some topics where other topics you just breezed through pretty quickly, but I really liked the emphasis that you gave on certain points. You clapped at one point, you sped up, and when you were speaking, you talked louder at some points, and that made it more animated and enjoyable and easier to follow along. And then at the very end, you pulled everything together, and what I felt was a great closure and reiterated the objectives. So great, yeah.
Thank you, Tara. How about Alex?
Hi, so I'm evaluating Dave Ross, and I thought it was a great speech. It started with a lot of energy and kept going. But it kept me thinking, why does he love pizza so much? And in the middle of the presentation, it did go over some of the reasons why he loves pizza so much. But I think it was a great device sort of to get a common topic, a common food that everybody loves, and to sort of change it as his presentation went along to talk about something else that maybe people don't want to talk about as much. So I thought it was a great device to get us familiar with the topic that everybody knows, and then change it to something that maybe we don't feel too comfortable discussing at certain times. A great presentation.
Thank you, Alex. And last but certainly not least, Hanuel.
So I had the pleasure of evaluating Matt's speech, and one thing I liked about Matt is that he started off praising Dave's presentation off the bat, and also established rapport with the audience by calling us technical, even though his speech was going to be a little more technical and not as entertaining as maybe Dave's about pizza. Also, he had a really clear, strong voice that carried the information well. It was easy to follow. And he also used pauses throughout to kind of let things sink in a little bit. He didn't hurry through it. Also, he varied his focus throughout the crowd, made direct eye contact with people as he went along, and used expressive hand gestures. One thing he did not do as much is vary his location on the stage, so to say. So he'd stay kind of in one spot, and I just find there's a little bit more energy when speakers move around, but that's just a personal preference. Did not seem as enthusiastic about the subject matter. It was like he said, more technical, so I guess it's a little harder to do on something like that, but overall, it was still very good and informative, and I would like to learn more about those.
Thank you, Hanuel. So do we have a timing report? Do we have a timer?
Thank you guys very much. So here is a timing report. First, I'd like to say Mr. Paul Davis's speech was extended from 7 to 15 minutes. So, and the rest kept their normal time frame. With his speech, it lasted 12 minutes, 18 seconds, meaning he had 2 minutes, 42 seconds left unused. The second speech, Mr. Dave Ross, had 37 seconds unused. And the last speech, Mr. Matt, went over the time by 34 seconds. With regards to the table topics, the answers were very, they took way less time than expected, and on average, they took about 15 seconds each, except the second one, which took 48. With regards to the evaluators, they basically use about, less than a minute for their responses. So that's all about the time.
All right, now we get to hear from our grammarian and aha counter.
This is where I wish a little bit more guidance was given to me when on the AHA and those counters. Either I did a poor job of counting AHAs, or the three main presenters did a very good job not having in there. I side on the second. I think they all did a good job. I think I did count a number of ums and ahs going through some of the evaluators, as we are a little less prepared and a little less, a little less everything in this process. So that is my report.
I think we had an awesome meeting. And I love on a tech meeting when pizza comes up, especially good pizza. Thank you for Toastmasters for coming out. I hope this, let's say personally, it's just encouraging to stop and think through the basics again of how do you select a topic, or to see an illustration of how to take a story that captivates the audience and then impart a very simple point that's powerful, that hopefully because of that story will stick with us. And then to know that paper manuals are great, but we don't use them in technology, and now we can take the same technology that we love and use it to help us be better presenters, to make our, gotten rid of the paper manual. We're learning to present better, which means we can even build better ways of presenting. So thank you to our speakers. And thank you to Techlahoma and the SQL Group for having us. I'd like to turn this back over to our Toastmaster, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. Did anybody not have an opportunity to speak today? Did we have to call an Okay. We didn't have to call an ambulance. You survived. And that's a Toastmaster meeting. And I have to say that y'all beat me on table topics. My record was 19 seconds, my first one. And now look at me, I'm up here talking for Well, my last table topics went for 4 minutes because the timer got so interested in what I was saying, she forgot to turn the lights on. So I just kept talking. Anyway, if you'd like more information, I'll be here till the end, and you can send an email to pcbctoastmasters@gmail.com. PCBC Toastmasters is my home club, and I've got access to the email, so that's the one I'm using. A sign-up sheet went around, and so we'll be sending out more information. If we find that there is an interest, we can set up a new club that's just for tech people. Maybe Techlahoma tech groups can join and figure it out, but if you're interested, just let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Yes, Matt?
Being the tech people that you are, and having the setup that you have, Toastmasters added just a couple of years ago the ability to have virtual meetings. So whoever's watching this tonight could actually be part of your club. So you could set up a club for this group, but you could have members all over the world. So this is, in your case, where normally we would want to see 20 live bodies to start a club here. In your case, a mix of live bodies and virtual bodies may very well work for this club meeting as well as any other group anyway.
That's good to know. One of the pathways has to do with blogging. So that fits in with this group as well, because one of the things that I've been reading about lately is that if you want to make it in the professional world, you need to blog. And so I need to figure out how to do that. Maybe somebody could do a lightning talk on it. All right. And with that, I will turn it back over to our president, Mr. Jimmy Ewald.